A mysterious signal pulses through deep space, but this isn't random noise. It's a deliberate cry for help, sent from a star system 10.5 light-years away. When young communications officer Jake Miller spots the anomaly, his superiors face a brutal choice: ignore it, or send humanity's first interstellar rescue mission into the unknown. What they don't know? The aliens who sent it never expected Deathworlders to respond. Jake Miller's shift began with the usual monotony. Routine, scans, background static. Then, the anomaly. His screen flickered with a pulse that didn't belong, a repeating waveform, precise as a metronome. Every 47 seconds. No natural cosmic phenomenon matched that rhythm. Too exact, too artificial. Laura Daniels leaned over his shoulder, fingers flying across her own console. Her search pulled up empty. No matches in Earth's database. No known signals from human satellites or deep space probes. The waveform wasn't just repeating, it had structure, layers, complex modulation buried beneath the primary pulse. Whoever sent this knew how to encode meaning into raw transmission. Dr. Allen isolated the carrier wave within minutes. The signature matched Galactic Concord protocols, first contact protocols. 3 years ago, humanity had been deemed Deathworlders and granted probationary membership. Conditional. Watched. The signal wasn't random noise. It was a test, or worse, a cry for help. Origin triangulation placed it at Epsilon Eridani, 10.5 light-years away. Distant but reachable with the experimental FTL drives. Captain Grant studied the data in silence. No solar flares, no pulsar interference, no natural explanation fit. That left one conclusion: artificial transmission. Deliberate, directed. The implications spread through the station like a current. Someone out there expected an answer. Someone didn't realize what kind of answer humanity might send. On screen, the waveform pulsed. Waiting. The chain reaction began before the first briefing ended. Military command needed evaluation. Diplomats demanded caution. Scientists argued for study. But the signal wasn't a question, it was a countdown. Every 47 seconds it repeated. A heartbeat in the dark. Captain Grant folded his arms. If they're signaling for help, they'll expect a response window. We delay too long, they assume silence means abandonment. Commander Ellis pulled up the Valeri trade routes. Epsilon. Eridani wasn't a major hub, but reconnaissance tagged it as a minor Concord outpost. Peaceful, defenseless. Dr. Allen traced the signal structure. This isn't just a ping. It's layered with secondary encryptions, coordinates, system diagnostics. Whoever sent it is in trouble. The room fell still. Earth's status among the conquered races hung in the air. Probationary, untrusted, too violent, too unpredictable. Answering this call meant revealing their military reach. Ignoring it meant proving the conquered right. Humans only cared for themselves. Then the station alarms blared. A secondary signal piggybacked on the first. Less refined, urgent. Laura decoded it first. Raw Valeri distress markers, battle stations, hull breaches, life support failure. Captain Grant's expression hardened. They're under attack. The decision crystallized without debate. Earth would answer. But not with diplomats. Jake Miller watched as the orbital shipyards lit up. Mothballed frigates powered reactors. Railgun batteries slid into firing position. Whoever sent the signal assumed help would come in the form of medics and engineers. Humanity had other ideas. The Valeri transmission looped. Unchanged, unanswered, until now. On the bridge of the battlecruiser Ascendant, Captain Grant opened a channel. All units, combat readiness, set course for Epsilon Eridani. The first human war fleet ever assembled outside Sol jumped to light speed. They didn't know what waited on the other side, but the galaxy would learn what Deathworlders did when called to war. Admiral Donovan's boots clicked against the war room floor in steady rhythm. The holographic displays showed the repeating signal from Epsilon Eridani. clean waveforms scrolling left to right in perfect intervals. Around the central table, Earth's Security Council stood in silence. The decision point had arrived. Earth's diplomatic status flickered on a secondary screen. Probationary member, not full Concord, no obligations beyond basic cooperation. The treaty specifically excluded military engagements outside Sol. Strictly speaking, they could ignore this. Captain, Grant stepped forward. We have 5 ships retrofitted with Mark 7 FTL drives, combat ready, 2-week transit time to Epsilon Eridani at maximum burn. The technical specifications rolled across another display. Shields, railgun yields, boarding pod capacities. Earth's military capability laid bare. A counselor from the Pacific Bloc frowned. The Concord hasn't asked for our help. This could violate probation terms. Grant's jaw tightened. Article 14 of Concordant Principles, all members must render aid to distress calls within operational range. He tapped his datapad. This doesn't specify military versus civilian response. Only appropriate assistance. The Deathworld label hung over the debate like fog. Every diplomat in the room knew how the Concord saw humans, evolved on a high-gravity rock teeming with predators, surviving radiation levels that would sterilize most species. Their very biology made them suspect. Too strong, too aggressive. Their history of warfare didn't help. Donovan stopped pacing. First contact scenarios are about precedent. His voice carried the weight of 3 decades in service. If we ignore this, we confirm their worst assumptions. If we respond badly, we prove them right. The tactical display zoomed in on Epsilon Eridani's outpost schematics. Valari architecture, crystalline, fragile-looking. Defensive systems rated for pirate raids, not sustained assault. Whoever attacked them would be different. Captain Grant met the Admiral's gaze. We have 3 options. Ignore the call and hope someone else answers. Send civilian ships with medical aid, knowing they'll arrive too late for combat support. Or deploy Battlegroup Omega under concordant principles and actually save lives. One of the civilian advisors raised a hand. What happens when terrified, Valerie see human warships dropping out of FTL? That's the gamble, Donovan said. His fingers tapped a console, pulling up historical files. Humanity's first contact with Concord scouts. The shaky footage showed alien diplomats recoiling from standard Earth gravity, their delicate limbs strained under basic movement. To them, even human children seemed terrifyingly strong. The signal kept pulsing. 47-second intervals. No variation. A new alert flashed. Long-range scans detected debris around Epsilon Eridani's 3rd moon. Battle debris. Recent. Grant didn't wait for permission. He opened a channel to Jupiter's shipyards. Ascendant, this is command. Begin pre-launch. Sequence. All Marine detachments report for briefing. Silence stretched. Then Donovan nodded. Authorization granted. Omega Group deploys in 6 hours. He turned to the diplomatic liaison. Inform the Concord we're exercising Article 14. Full. Compliance, no apologies. An aide rushed out to relay the orders. Across Earth's orbital platforms, klaxons sounded. Crews scrambled. Engineers locked down FTL drives. Marine squads checked armor seals and magnetic boots. The strategy table lit up with deployment vectors. 5 ships spiraling out from Sol on intercept courses. Fastest possible trajectories. No stealth. No attempt to hide their approach. Donovan watched the battle group form up on screen. The first human military force ever to leave the solar system. Going to war on behalf of aliens who feared them. You realize, he said to Grant, the Valari may scream when they see our ships. Grant adjusted his sidearm. Then they'll scream at their rescuers instead of their killers. The countdown clock started. 6 hours until jump. Meanwhile, 10.5 light-years away, the Valari signal continued pulsing. Unanswered. For now. On the battlecruiser Ascendant, Marines loaded breaching charges. Engineers tested kinetic kill systems. The medical base stocked extra trauma kits. designed for human physiology but adaptable. Captain Grant stood on the observation deck, watching Earth shrink behind them. The planet that spawned Deathworlders. The planet that answered when others might hesitate. His first officer joined him, handing over a data pad. Concord response just came in. Grant scanned the message. Official acknowledgement. No approval. No condemnation. Just a simple glacial update to their status log. Sol system. Military asset deployment registered. They're watching. The first officer said. Grant handed back the pad. Good. The final loading procedures finished. Maglocks secured thousands of railgun projectiles, each capable of cracking asteroid cores. Engineering teams sealed the FTL drive housings, triple-checking. Containment fields. The jump would push their systems to the brink. Nobody had tested this configuration under prolonged stress. In the Marine barracks, soldiers ran last-minute drills, zero-G grappling hooks, boarding pod deployments, close-quarters plasma cutters, against simulated biomechanical armor. A lieutenant addressed her squad. Remember, Valeri physiology fractures at 5 Gs. Their station won't have handholds meant for our grip strength. Move carefully. Nobody mentioned what happened if they encountered the attackers instead. At exactly T-minus 30 minutes, Grant took his place on the bridge. Display screens showed all 5 ships aligned, a staggered formation designed to spread sensor confusion and concentrate firepower. Transmit our status to command, Grant said. Omega Group is go for FTL jump in sequence. The comm officer worked his console. Concord acknowledges receipt. New advisory. Initial scans show multiple hostiles at Epsilon Eridani. Organic ship. Signatures consistent with... He paused. They're calling them Cryax. No further data. Grant studied the fuzzy tactical feed. The Valari outpost appeared as a faint blue dot surrounded by dozens of red markers, swarming, shifting. Moving like predators circling wounded prey. Helm, Grant said. Maximum burn on my mark. The countdown reached 0. Space twisted. Omega Group vanished from Sol's orbit. Humanity's first interstellar war had begun. The ships thrummed at maximum. FTL burn. Hulls vibrating under stress never designed for 3-week endurance runs. Crew rotations tightened. Sleep became a rationed commodity. Every system operated past redline tolerances. Engineering teams worked in shifts, crawling through access tunnels to replace shuttering stabilizer rings. Commander Ellis ran battle drills daily. No simulations matched Cryax profiles exactly, but Concord database fragments suggested they fought like a swarm. Quick, decentralized, no clear command structure to target. Their organic ships meant unpredictable weak points. No standard engine cores to sabotage, no obvious bridge modules to strike. You don't fight a beehive by shooting individual bees, Ellis told his Marines. Training sessions shifted focus. Magnetic harpoons replaced standard breaching charges. Plasma cutters adjusted for chitinous armor. Zero-G combat scenarios loaded alien physiology parameters into the targeting AIs. Cryax movement modeling remained guesswork. In the mess hall, black market stimulants circulated among pilots. The carrier Vanguard had already lost 2 fighters during high-speed maneuvering drills. Wreckage analysis showed control surfaces sheared off by their own wake turbulence. 7 more days at this burn, Captain Grant announced during shipwide address. His feed flickered across every screen. Maintenance reports showed drive efficiency dropping below 82%. We don't slow down. Then the Valeri data packets arrived. The signal took 14 hours to decrypt. Not a distress call anymore, a siege update. Video fragments showed crystalline corridors buckling under mass impacts. Bioacid burns eating through defensive barriers. The Valari weren't warriors. Traders. Miners. Their outposts specialized in rare metamaterials harvested from Epsilon Eridani's inner asteroid belt. Commander Ellis froze the last clear image. A Cryax warrior caught mid-leap. Segmented exoskeleton. Too many jointed limbs. No visible eyes. The claws alone suggested quadruple-jointed shoulders capable of hyperextension. No human close-quarters training accounted for that reach. Command staff gathered in the war room. Red markers lit up tactical displays, estimated Kryax positions, encircling the Valari station. They're not trying to board decisively, Major Ruiz observed. They're herding, exhausting defenses, waiting for a new data packet auto-played. Valari script scrolled too fast to translate, but the imagery needed no explanation. Half the station's outer modules had already vented atmosphere. Defensive emitters flickered under sustained bioplasma bombardment. Life support fluctuated sector by sector. Grant zoomed the projection. Original mission parameters no longer apply. This isn't rescue. It's relief of an active war zone. On screen, the siege timer updated itself. Valari estimates gave their primary shield generator 8 more days before catastrophic failure. Human ships had 7. Engineering teams recalibrated the FTL drives for one final push. We'll strip the safeties, Chief Alvarez reported. Gain 12% more speed. Risk cascade containment breach. Grant authorized it. Across all 5 ships, warning klaxons sounded as engineers manually overrode emergency protocols. Magnetic containment fields hummed at frequencies that made teeth ache. Every crew member carried a radiation pill. The Marines changed too. Medical. Bays prepped burn trauma kits and bioacid neutralizers. Armorers swapped standard rounds for magnesium incendiary blends. Pre-mission briefings now included Valari structural weak points, where to press a palm to reinforce failing crystal lattices, how much strength to use when guiding their fragile limbs. Remember, Ellis told his squad leaders, your reflex speed frightens them. Move slow until combat starts, then don't hold back. A final transmission arrived before comms blackout. Valari coordinator Ara, her segmented pupils dilating under stress, spoke directly to the feed. You honor us with response, but our projections indicate insufficient. Static swallowed the next words. Cannot hold. If still coming, know we've rigged resonance field generators as final measure. Activation, codes attached. If nothing else, deny them the recording cut off. Grant studied the attached schematics. Valari resonance technology was poorly understood, but Concord bulletins listed it as a last-ditch defensive measure. Some kind of focused entropy wave. Dangerous to organic and mechanical systems alike. Weapons Locker Alpha 9, Grant ordered. Prep the inertial dampener warheads, match yield to these resonance frequencies. His weapons officer hesitated. Sir, those warheads are untested. If the harmonics interact with our own, noted. Proceed. The ships accelerated further. Drive. Signatures flared into the red. Bulkheads creaked. 2 more fighter pilots died during an emergency drill when maneuvering thrusters failed under acceleration stress. 11 hours ahead of the worst projections, the Arcturus sector marker pinged on navigational systems. Epsilon Eridani's primary star glowed dimly ahead, an old, cooling red giant. Its 5th planet hosted the Valari outpost. Tactical feeds came alive. Kryax swarm signatures registered immediately, dozens of organic vessels pulsing with bioelectric signatures. No standardized shapes, some like spined mollusks, others all jagged chitin plates. They moved in erratic patterns around the Valari station, which flickered with intermittent shield coverage. Entire sections showed dark. Captain Grant opened the fleet-wide channel. Battle stations, all Marine detachments to drop pods, railgun crews, load mixed munitions, delayed penetration followed by incendiary. The ships locked weapons, drive signatures, spiked as they prepared to drop from FTL. Time to arrival? Grant asked. Helm checked. 3 minutes. The crew braced. 3 minutes until humanity's first interstellar battle. 3 minutes until Deathworlders met the swarm. The transition from FTL shattered across every screen in an electromagnetic backwash. The Ascendant groaned under the stress, inertial dampeners whining at overload. Ships deployed in staggered formation, 5 human vessels against a swarm that rippled against the Valari station like insects on rotting fruit. Captain Grant's tactical display resolved into nightmare clarity. The Valari outpost wasn't just damaged, it was being consumed. Jagged fissures spiderwebbed across its crystalline superstructure, where Cryak's boarding pods had injected corrosive enzymes. Entire sections pulsed with internal detonations. Their defensive emitters flickered in erratic bursts, their power grid failing sector by sector. Multiple targets confirmed. The weapons officer called out. 40-plus bioships in immediate engagement range. Readings match. No, wait. Their formations just reconfigured completely, not like anything in the database. Grant cut him off. Primary batteries lock Sector 7, full spread, staggered timing. Marines prepare for breaching. Operations. The swarm didn't retreat. It reconfigured. Surviving bioships altered their movement patterns. No more headlong pursuits, now erratic zigzag approaches that made targeting solutions harder to lock. Distances closed faster than predicted. Grant keyed the battlenet. Marine teams, standby boarding actions. Valeri squads, is that resonance field ready? Coordinator Ara's voice crackled through interference. Generators at 92%. But Captain, their approach vectors suggest. Whatever warning followed dissolved into static as the Cryaks launched countermeasures. Bioplasma surged from weapon nodes across the swarm, not aimed at human ships but at the remaining sphere mines. The organic projectiles dissolved containment shells before detonation, rendering hundreds inert. Field integrity compromised, Ellis reported. We have bioships breaching inner perimeter. The Ascendant shuddered as the first bioplasma impact struck her forward shields. Damage control teams scrambled to reinforce buckling sections. Over the battlenet, status reports came rapid fire. Vanguard reporting hull breaches near engineering. Sentinel's port railgun battery offline after an acid spray fouled the firing mechanism. Boarders came next. Cryak's warrior pods launched from bioships, each a self-contained assault module that attached to human hulls via corrosive enzymes. Marine fire teams met them with plasma cutters and magnetic harpoons, close quarters work in zero gravity while wearing bulky combat armor. Comms channels filled with staccato updates. East quadrant clear. Acid breach deck 7. They don't stop moving, even missing limbs. Seal that corridor now. Grant checked tactical. Cryak's losses mounted 6. Bioships confirmed destroyed, another 9 heavily damaged, but human casualties climbed too. Every minute of this exchange drained more resources from both sides. The swarm could afford attrition. The battle group couldn't. Valerie teams, Grant snapped. Activate resonance field. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then a low-frequency hum vibrated through every connected comm channel. Not sound, but something translated into human-perceivable range by the translation software. The effect pulsed outward from the Valari station in concentric ripples, a shimmering distortion wave visible on infrared scopes. Cryak's bioships caught in the initial wave convulsed. Organic propulsion nodes seized. Weapon pits collapsed inward as if suffering violent muscle spasms. Boarding pods still attached to human hulls went abruptly inert, their outer shells cracking like dried clay. The battlefield snapped into momentary stillness. Even the constant chatter of damage reports paused. Then the swarm moved again, not attacking, not retreating, but swirling in chaotic patterns. Disjointed, uncoordinated. For the first time, individual bioships acted out of sync with the whole. Some drifted aimlessly. Others collided. 3 began firing bioplasma at their own kind. It worked, Ellis said, then caught himself. Temporarily. Grant didn't celebrate. The resonance field disrupted hive coordination, but Valeri engineers had warned the effect wouldn't last. Cryak's nervous systems would adapt. Already, tactical showed the outer edges of the swarm reorganizing. Distant bioships unaffected by the initial wave moved to reinforce. Then the long-range sensors pinged. Something new entered the detection. Radius. Not the erratic signatures of standard bioships, but a single massive return. Larger than all others combined. Moving slower, more deliberately. Contact bearing 317 by -80, the sensor officer reported. Then his voice changed. Massive biosignature, orders of magnitude above combat units. Coordinator Ara's transmission cut through static. Captain, that's the Brood Queen. The Valari's normally precise speech carried new urgency. All previous engagements suggest her presence reactivates swarm coordination, despite resonance interference. Our field generators will fail under sustained. An explosion cut her off. The BattleNet displayed fresh damage icons across the Valari station, multiple impacts along its western face. Gravity fluctuations suggested structural collapses. Grant's eyes locked on tactical. The Queen vessel wasn't attacking yet. It advanced, deliberately, surrounded by a protective screen of untouched bioships. Their movement patterns differed from the frenzied attackers. Controlled, precise, almost ceremonial. Fresh alerts blared across the bridge. The resonance field's effects were already fading. Disoriented bioships at the periphery snapped back into formation. Damaged vessels still capable of movement rejoined the swarm. Status of our boarding teams? Grant demanded. 70%. Objective secured, Marine Commander Ruiz reported. But extraction under current fire? Grant interrupted. Pull them out. Now. He turned to Helm. Bring us about. All remaining railguns target that Queen vessel. On screen, the Brood Queen's ship resolved into clearer detail. Unlike the angular bioships, this mass resembled a bloated cephalopod. Bulbous central body trailing dozens of articulated limbs. Each appendage terminated in distinct biological weapon nodes. Sensor returns suggested some form of heavy bioplasma, artillery, others possibly electromagnetic disruptors. The Ascendant's main batteries cycled to full charge. Targeting computers wrestled with the Queen's erratic propulsion, not smooth thrust, but peristaltic pulses that made course predictions nearly impossible. Entering optimal range, weapons reported. Firing solution uncertain, wait. The officer stiffened. Captain, she's launching something. Not projectiles. Pods. Hundreds of them. Each larger than standard boarding craft. These oblong shapes ejected in coordinated salvos. Initial scans showed dense biosignatures inside. Not the warrior class. Cryax encountered so far, but something with heavier armor plating. Across the BattleNet, the other human ships reported identical launches. Every vessel in the swarm suddenly disgorged fresh troops directly toward the human fleet and Valari station alike. Marine squads, Grant ordered. Prepare for heavy combatants. Station teams, fall back to fortified positions. The Queen's approach continued unabated. Her escorts formed layered defensive screens, intercepting railgun rounds before they could strike her primary hull. 3 human projectiles detonated against bioship shields with blinding flashes. But when the glare cleared, the Queen advanced untouched. Valari engineers sent a frantic update. Resonance generators overheating. Projected field collapse in 6 minutes. After that, no guarantee the technology would work again without major repairs. Sir, Ellis said quietly, we're losing the initiative. Grant studied tactical. The plan had worked, better than expected. Even 15 confirmed bioship kills, dozens damaged. But the swarm adapted too fast. Now this. He opened a shipwide channel. All hands, this is the captain. No dramatics, no false hope, just facts. Queen vessel engaging, expect heavy boarding actions. Marines will hold critical sections. Engineering teams prioritize reactor integrity. Outside the view screen, the Brood Queen silhouette eclipsed starlight. Her escorts fanned out in perfect formation. No more disorganization. Whatever disruption the resonance field caused, the Queen's presence negated it entirely. Load the inertial dampener warheads, Grant ordered. Target that central mass, maximum yield. His weapons officer hesitated. Sir, harmonic interaction with our own. I know the risks. Arm them. Acknowledgement lights flickered across the console. Heavy magazines cycled. Targeting locks wavered against the Queen's unpredictable movement but held. On the marine channels, frantic reports came through. First contact with the new boarding pods. Bulkhead doors buckling under impacts unlike anything faced before. Visual feeds showed hulking figures emerging, Cryax heavies, half again as large as standard warriors, their carapaces layered like medieval plate armor. The plan worked until it didn't, Grant muttered. Then louder. All ships full offensive maneuvering. Focus fire on that Queen. Everything we've got. The Ascendant's engines roared to full combat thrust. Formation screens showed the other. Human vessels matching the maneuver. No retreat. No defensive postures now. A full frontal assault against the heart of the swarm. Before coordinates could confirm, a new signal cut through the tactical channel. A Valeri face appeared. Elongated cranium, irises segmented like a geological cross-section. First Coordinator Ara. Her alien features contorted in human-recognizable relief as she processed the ship's transponder codes. You came. The universal translator pitched her voice higher than expected. We had... She flinched as another impact rocked her station. Primed resonance field for final detonation. Thought we were... last of... Across the bridge, screens flagged movement. The Kryak swarm was responding. Entire detachments peeled away from the station to intercept. Grant watched their formations. Shift. No rigid Navy approach but a fluid organic reconfiguration. Half their number folded into attack vectors while the rest maintained siege pressure. Marine detachments, Grant barked. Dispatch rescue teams to these coordinates. He routed Valeri schematics to the boarding parties, highlighting structurally secure pathways to Ara's command node. Priority extraction of leadership. Secondary objective, secure any resonance field generators still operational. The first, Marine pods launched before he finished speaking. Magnetic acceleration rigs propelled the craft directly into the station's fractured docking spires. Sensor feeds from their helmet cams showed Valeri architecture from the inside. Crystalline, lattices that should have shattered under combat stress, but instead contained damage through some self-distributing structural integrity. Human engineers would later describe it as shock-absorbing on a molecular level. Sergeant Cho's squad made first physical contact. Their footage showed Valeri crew members, tall, spindly-limbed beings, freezing when the armored humans entered their battered command center. One technician actually collapsed, leg joints buckling under apparent stress. Cho's subsequent movements were carefully slowed, hands raised in deliberate non-threat displays. Years of first contact training compressed into microsecond adjustments. The way Valeri's reaction to Ara told another story. Where they'd recoiled from human shock troops, they clustered toward their leader with evident trust. Ara's multi-jointed fingers danced across a console woven from light and crystalline filaments. Resonance field protocol nearly complete, she told Cho through the translation overlay. Without reinforcement, we planned to cleanse the station. Better than letting the hive consume us. Engineering teams transmitted fresh data as they reached Valeri tech nodes. The entire station ran on principles human science hadn't imagined. Energy directed through quantum-locked crystal matrices. Computational processes occurring within lattice imperfections. One lieutenant reported in disbelief. Their power grid isn't wires or plasma channels, sir. It's grown, like a nervous system. Kryak's boarding parties changed the equation. Distant sectors reported sudden breaches, organic pods dissolving, station walls with bioacid secretions. Combat footage showed the attackers for the first time. Chitin-plated nightmares with too many jointed limbs, movement patterns that flickered between insectile precision and spasmodic aggression. A Marine fire team engaged one such incursion near the resonance core. Plasma rounds punched through Kryak's carapaces, only for the creatures to keep advancing until headshots or total limb disintegration stopped them. Their return fire came from organic launchers that spat concentrated acid. 3 Marines went down, screaming before the rest adapted. Focus fire on the weapon limbs first. They don't scream, Corporal Vasquez reported between engagements. No vocalizations at all, just silent forward motion until you blow them apart. Engineering squads worked in parallel with the Marines. Human technicians jury-rigged power couplings between Valeri crystals and terrestrial amplifiers, boosting shield emitters that had been failing for days. Meanwhile, Cho's team secured Ara and began evacuation toward less compromised sections. Your ships, Ara said as they moved, her voice thin through translation. The Kryaks adapt quickly. They've never faced entrance to what you call Deathworlders, but the swarm mind learns. Grant monitored this through the marine feeds while simultaneously directing orbital maneuvers. The battle group had split, 3 ships maintaining defensive formation around the station while 2 waged running skirmishes against the bulk of the Kryak swarm. The enemy ships moved unlike any human-designed craft. No fixed engine signatures. Propulsion seemed to ripple through organic hull segments. Weapons fired in volleys that started systematic before shifting unpredictably mid-salvo. "We're being pattern tested," Commander Ellis realized, watching the engagement radar. "They're throwing different tactics against us like—" He trailed off, unable to find an earthbound comparison. Then the resonance field activated. Ara had transmitted command codes to human engineers before evacuation. The effect wasn't explosive but pervasive, a vibrational pulse that resonated through every crystal structure in the station. Valerie technicians shielded their sensory organs as the wave passed. Human Marines reported vertigo and temporary cochlear damage. The Kryaks reacted violently. Boarding squads spasmed mid-movement, their exoskeletons cracked Captain Grant's command, snapped across the battle net. "Execute Plan Emmer." Engineering teams across all 5 ships raced to final positions. Weapons officers cycled through 3 separate targeting confirmations. This wasn't standard doctrine. No fleet manual ever written anticipated fighting a hive-mind swarm with organic ships. Thousands of spheres deployed from hidden chutes along the human vessel's undercarriages. Each canister-sized matte black, utterly inert to sensors. The munitions drifted silently into the engagement zone. No thrust signatures, no energy readings. Just dark specks spreading through the void between the human fleet and the Kryak swarm. "We have dispersal confirmation," Commander Ellis reported. "Field density optimal." The Kryaks adjusted instantly. Their bioships flicked formations like a school of predator fish changing direction mid-hunt. Forward elements shifted from attack vectors to investigative patterns, organic sensor pits dilating as they sought to classify the strange objects. Grant waited. Let them close range. Let their curiosity defeat caution. "All ships," he said, "reverse thrust at mark." The Ascendant and her sisters fired maneuvering jets at full burn, not retreating, but creating immediate distance from the sphere field. The move triggered predatory instincts. Kryak's vessels that had been holding position suddenly surged forward in pursuit, their organic hulls rippling with sudden acceleration. Inside the drifting spheres, microsecond timers hit 0. The detonations weren't explosive. Not in the traditional sense. Each sphere released a precisely shaped kinetic pulse, enough force to destabilize, not destroy, enough to wound, not kill. Kryak's bioships nearest the field took the first impacts. The pulses found weaknesses in their chitinous armor, joints, between plates, fluid exchange vents, neural ganglia clusters. Organic tissue ruptured under perfectly calculated stress points. 3 bioships vented viscous green fluid immediately, their movements turning spasmodic as damage control nodes misfired. Human railguns fired next. Targeting solutions routed through the still drifting sphere field. Each projectile carried dual payloads, forward penetrators designed to breach outer hulls, followed by delayed magnesium incendiary for internal detonation. The effects exceeded projections. First impact, railgun rounds punched through weakened bioship armor. Second stage, white-hot flames erupted inside pressurized organic chambers. Kryak's physiology, optimized for vacuum survival, but unprepared for sudden heat spikes, flash-boiled. Inside its own exoskeletons, 3 bioships burst like overripe fruit. "Hive response shifting," the tactical officer called. His screen updated. "New formations, adapting." Railguns fired. Missile pods emptied. Behind them, the Valeri station's resonance field flickered, its final pulses washing over the battlefield before the generators failed entirely. One way or another, this ended now. The Brood Queen's vessel dominated the battlefield, 5 times larger than the biggest Kryak's bioship. Its organic hull pulsed with slow, rhythmic contractions. Sensor readings fluctuated wildly. Energy signatures spiked, then flatlined in nonsensical patterns. No standard. Military intelligence could predict its movements. The ship didn't fly. It swam through vacuum like a deep-sea leviathan. Coordinator Ara's transmission cut through static. She's the neural core, controls every unit in the swarm. The Valari's voice held something new, not fear, but grim resignation. Her arrival means all previous strategies fail. The Hive thinks as one now. The Ascendant's railgun volleys struck first. Tungsten penetrators traveling at relativistic speeds impacted the Queen's outer hide and cratered without breaching. External armor plates shivered from the blows, then rippled back into position. Damage assessments showed minimal effect. Impact absorption at 89% efficiency, Tactical reported. That outer layer's dissipating kinetic energy across its entire structure, like hitting gel. Captain Grant studied the display. Standard doctrine suggested concentrating fire, but against something this massive? Pounding one spot might take hours they didn't have, especially now that the Queen's escorts had reformed their protective screen. Shift targeting, he ordered. Focus on weapon nodes. Disable whatever the Queen fired, not the bioplasma barrages from standard bioships. This was different. A dozen articulated limbs along her underbelly dilated, expelling globular projectiles that twisted mid-flight. Sensors tagged them as boarding pods, but 20 times larger than standard. All ships, point defense crews engaged those. Too late. The pods impacted across the human fleet, not attempting to breach. Attaching. Their outer shells split along fibrous seams, unfolding into biomechanical docking collars that fused with hull plating. Inside the Ascendant, damage alerts blared. Multiple hull breaches, engineering shouted. Decks 4 through 7, some kind of organic airlock formation. Structural integrity compromised. Marine squads mobilized. Battle cams showed the nightmare emerging. Queen's Guard units. Towering Kryax warriors reinforced with extra carapace. Layers, their forelimbs terminating in serrated bone blades. They moved faster than anything their size should, skittering along bulkheads in 0G with insectile precision. Hand-to-hand broke out across 3 ships simultaneously. Standard marine tactics crumbled against enemies who could pivot their entire bodies mid-lunge. Plasma rounds that dropped normal warriors merely staggered these brutes. Grant opened the fleet-wide channel. Disrupt their coordination. Target the neural clusters between armor plates. He pulled up Valari anatomical scans. Concentrated fire at these junctions. Not all Marines could adjust in time. Sergeant Cho's fire team went dark mid-transmission, their last footage showing 4 Queen's Guards systematically dismantling a fortified position. Another squad reported success. Magnesium rounds ignited inside carved-out weak points, cooking the warriors from within. While Marines fought internally, the Queen vessel advanced. Her escorts parted, revealing clusters of previously hidden biocannons. These didn't fire projectiles. They emitted pulsating beams that warped space visibly, distortion fields that made targeting computers glitch. The Vanguard took the first direct hit. The beam didn't pierce shields, it vibrated through them. Hull plating buckled at the molecular level. Atmosphere vented from 100 microfractures. Damage control teams scrambled to seal compartments as entire sections decompressed. Some kind of harmonic destabilizer, engineering reported. Resonance weapon. Our inertial dampeners aren't calibrated for... Another beam struck. The Sentinel listed violently, her port engine nacelle shearing off under structural stress. Escape pods launched prematurely, their trajectories erratic as the ship's gravity fluctuated. On the Valari station, Ara and her surviving technicians worked desperately. Resonance field rebooting, she transmitted. But we need primary power restored, the generators. An explosion cut her off. Station schematics updated in real time, a whole sector venting atmosphere. The Queen's influence had rallied the swarm. Bioships previously disabled by the resonance field now reactivated, joining a renewed assault. Captain Grant weighed options. The Queen's Guards had secured footholds aboard 3 ships. External weapons barely scratched her hull. Time was running out. Prep the inertial dampener warheads, he ordered. Full yield, harmonic variance at Valari resonance frequencies. Weapons. Officer Chen hesitated. Sir, those harmonics could interact with our own dampeners. If the waveforms sync. Understood. Time to firing solution? 2 minutes. Grant switched channels. All marine units fall back to engineering and bridge sectors. Seal bulkheads behind you. He opened a private link to Coordinator Ara. Your people need to evacuate immediately. Whatever you did before, do it now. The Valari's segmented irises dilated. The same resonance burst that harms them will damage our... Understood. Get clear. Ara gave orders in her native tongue. Remaining Valari crews abandoned positions, shepherding wounded through crystalline passageways humans couldn't navigate. The battle clock ticked down. Queen's guards breached the Ascendant's armory. Marines fell back under overwhelming pressure, their ammunition dwindling. One fire team rigged a plasma conduit to explode, taking out 6 guards but decompressing 3 decks. 50 seconds to warhead ready. The Brood Queen's ship rippled, its weapon limbs retracting as new protrusions extended. Some kind of external fertilization tendrils, each pulsing with bioelectric charge. Tactical couldn't predict their purpose, only their trajectories, all aimed at the Valari station. New target analysis, Tactical called. She's going for their primary generators, wants to. The station's remaining defenses fired. Particle beams lanced out, severing 2 tendrils in bursts of viscous fluid. But 20 more continued reaching. 30 seconds. Marine Commander Ruiz reported from the Ascendant's lower decks. Bulkhead seals failing, we've got guard units. Automatic weapon fire drowned her out. Then static. The warhead status pinged green. All ships, Grant ordered. Brace for harmonic shockwave. Fire at will. 10 missile tubes cycled open across the human fleet, not aimed at the Queen's thickest armor, not targeting weapon clusters, each projectile vectored toward the least protected section, the neural junction where her main body connected to those articulated limbs. The Queen reacted almost perceptively. Escort bioships moved to intercept. Weapon tendrils swiveled from station assault to point defense. 5 missiles died in flames. 3 more veered off course, their guidance systems scrambled by distortion beams. 2 got through. The warheads detonated, not with fire, but vibration. Cascading harmonic pulses matched to Valari resonance frequencies and amplified tenfold by human engineering. For 3 heartbeats, nothing visible happened. Then the Queen's entire body convulsed. Limb connections spasmed violently. Her outer hide rippled like water struck by stones. Escort bioships flailed erratically, their movements suddenly uncoordinated. The Valari station chose that moment to fire its last resonance pulse. A shimmering wavefront expanded outward. Unlike before, this one carried visible distortion, warps, in space-time that made stars flicker. It passed through the human ships first. Every crew member grabbed for support as inertial dampeners fluctuated violently. 3 Marines in mid-step suddenly floated upward as gravity plating failed temporarily. Then the wave hit the Queen. Her convulsions became seizures. Entire limb sections tore free, their neural connections overloading. Escort bioships collided with each other. Their hive coordination shattered. The swarm broke. Without the Queen's controlling will, individual Cryax units reverted to base instincts. Some attacked each other, others fled blindly. A full third just drifted, their biological systems locked in feedback loops. Marine units, press the advantage, Grant ordered. Clear our ships, medical teams to the Valari station. The Ascendants, surviving squads rallied. With the Queen's influence gone, her guard units fought fiercely, but without coordination. Isolated warriors fell to concentrated fire. One particularly stubborn brute took 40 rounds before collapsing across a vital. Reactor conduit coordinator Ara's signal returned. Station stabilizing. Primary generators offline, but... She paused, listening to a report. The Brood Queen's vessel is... retreating. Sensors confirmed it. The massive organic construct had somehow reconfigured its remaining limbs into propulsion vectors. It moved oddly. Not the smooth glide from before, but a pained, lurching motion. Half its body showed structural damage. biomechanical fluids leaking into the void. Escort bioship still capable of movement clustered around her, abandoning the battle entirely. A ragged cheer went up across the Ascendant's bridge. Grant didn't join it. Too many systems were damaged, too many crew members lost. Tactical showed 2 human ships dead in space. Their reactor cores intact, but hulls breached in dozens of places. The Valari station fared worse. Whole sections opened to vacuum, its crystalline latticework shattered. Then the long-range alert sounded. New contacts, sensors announced. Multiple signatures incoming from... The screen resolved the images. 6 sleek vessels of unfamiliar design emerged from FTL. Their profiles matched nothing in the database. Smooth silver hulls, no visible weapons ports or engines. Ara's breath caught audibly over the comm. Concordant observers. The ships took position at the battlefield's edge. No hails, no demands, just silent monitoring. Every surviving human instinctively looked to Captain Grant. His uniform was torn, his face streaked with sweat from the bridge's failed environmental controls. He opened a fleet-wide channel one last time. All units cease fire. Render assistance where possible. His eyes stayed on the Concorde vessels as they began scanning operations. Battle Group Omega stands down. The Brood Queen's crippled ship continued its limping retreat, leaving behind a field of dead bioships and shattered allies. Humanity's first interstellar war had ended. Now came the aftermath. The Concordant observers activated their recording systems. Every damaged hull, every wounded Valari, every human marine still clutching their weapon, all captured in perfect detail. Captain Grant straightened his jacket. The deaths didn't show on camera. Neither did the cost. Victory never did. The Concordant observers didn't send diplomats. They dispatched analysts. Every scar on the Ascendant's hull, every marine still gripping their rifle, it all fed into their assessment. Earth's Deathworlder label didn't disappear. It gained new footnotes. Coordinator Ara delivered the first Valari crystal tech personally, a quantum lattice processor grown from Epsilon Eridani's core minerals. Human engineers stared at the shimmering prism. It computed via structured imperfections in its atomic matrix. The trade agreements wrote themselves. The signal still exists in deep space archives. 10.5 light-years away, repeating every 47 seconds. Proof that someone called for help. Proof that humanity answered. Today, Battlegroup Omega's wreckage orbits Sol as a monument. The galaxy remembers.